You have a job where you can work from anywhere. So, and you have a USA visitor visa. You can just come to the US for a couple months and work remotely on your visitor visa. No problem, right? Not so fast. I get this question all the time. I think there is an enormous amount of misinformation out there on the internet and honestly from other immigration attorneys. Um, and I want to talk to you about it today. If you have ever worked remotely in the United States, or especially if you're thinking about doing so, listen up. Let's talk about the risks and why I think you should absolutely not do this if you want to have a positive US immigration future. All right, let's go. My name is immigration attorney Kaylani Hawks Villafranca. I am based in Austin, Texas, and I serve my clients throughout the world, primarily from Spanish-speaking countries who want to come to the United States and run their US businesses or build their careers or start their families here in the country. Very often, I have questions about whether or not my clients can work remotely while in the US. This is a huge question, but it's a pretty easy answer, and the answer is no. Have people done it successfully without getting in trouble? Yep. Do you have a friend who was told by CBP that they could work in the US no problem? Sure you do. Are any of those people correct? No. And US immigration is extremely unforgiving. So I want you to know before you choose to work remotely in the United States that it is not permitted. It's absolutely not permitted. It's a gray area in the law. And what that means is that it's not explicitly permitted. And so an immigration official in the future can absolutely make the argument that you were working in the United States without lawful work permission to do so and can deny your future immigration application based on that, or can take away the visa that you have now. If you have a visitor visa, for example, and you enter the US for 6 weeks with your family and your family's on vacation, but you work remotely for 6 weeks, CBP can yank your visa and say, you were working here without permission. That's not permitted. You can't come back anymore. Try again for a new visitor visa in a couple of years, which you probably won't get after that happened. I really want this to not happen to you. I've seen this happen to so many people who got bad advice or who assumed, oh, it's probably fine. My employer isn't a US employer, so what's the problem? Please stop making assumptions about US immigration law. I cannot oversell that. And y'all can tell how heated I'm getting right now. When you make assumptions about US immigration law, you are likely to be making bad choices. US immigration law is not based in fairness. It is not based in logic. It is a complex rubric of laws that are very, very political, that have changed over time, that are real messy. Do not make assumptions about what you can and can't do because it seems like it should be okay. You are not allowed to work on your US visitor visa. You have no work permission when you have a US visitor visa. If you work remotely on your US visitor visa, that may be considered a violation of your immigration status. Don't do it. Don't do it. Now, if you're at Disney World with your family and you check your email twice, okay, this is probably not going to be a problem. It's probably not going to come up. But what I want you to hear is if you're a business person and say your family is in the US, they have a house in the Woodlands outside of Houston, they come the whole summer, they're truly on vacation, just hanging out during the school break. But you live in Mexico, where your family is from, and you come up for 3 weeks, and you go home for 2 weeks, and you come back for 3 weeks, and the whole time you're working remotely, you're probably violating your status, and your visa could be yanked. I've had clients in this exact situation get stopped at the border and questioned aggressively about whether or not they're working in the United States. And I've had a CBP officer, who I actually think was pretty nice, because they could have taken this person's visa away, and they didn't. They said, you need to go. We don't want to see you back here again for a long time. I think you're working without permission. It's not okay. They warned my client and they let him go. Now, he was not working with my permission. I had not known that this was happening. He came to me and told me what happened, and I said, you need to stay outside the United States. You need to not be working remotely at all. And you need to not come back for a while because they've warned you that if they see you again, they're going to assume you're working. Don't come back. So what do you do instead? You get the proper visa. That's not easy. It's hard to get a US visa, or it can be. Working with an attorney is definitely going to increase your chances. You can look at investor visas. You can look at TN NAFTA visas if you're from Canada or Mexico. You can look at trade visas. There are a lot of options. Or you can think about what you can do, what kind of work you can perform on your B1 visa. The B1 visa is a visitor work visa. You cannot just do your normal job on your B1 visa. You can come to a conference. You can look for US clients. You can sign a contract. You can't just sit in front of your computer for 8 hours and manage your team that's in Mexico. That's not going to be allowed. So if you have any questions, give me a call. Let's talk about it. But more importantly, if you're thinking about doing this, say you're the spouse of somebody who's about to come on a student visa and you think you're just going to come hang out for a year and work remotely in your job from Ireland, I beg you not to do this. You're going to ruin your US immigration future. US immigration is unforgiving. And the law is not at all clear on this aspect, which means immigration gets to decide what it is and how it applies to your case. There is no argument I can make in any way that says you have the right to work on your visitor visa remotely for a foreign employer. I have no authority to make that argument with immigration. So don't do it because you don't want to put yourself in that position. All right, talk to you soon.